Senzo is from the Blue Green Water Technologies, specializing in cyanobacteria treatment. So he's got some questions for you.
Is it on the chat? There it is.
Yes. So Senzo's question is, how do you generally remedy algal blooms, since it's a recurring problem? And then the second one is,
yes. You can ask the second one, sorry.
And how does an organization become a partner to the CMF? So I'm assuming, Senzo, you want to know, how do you partner with Bronkhorstspruit Catchment Management Forum?
Yeah, we partner with anyone who wants to support our charter and our functions. At this point, the blue-green algae, we don't remedy it currently. We don't have a remedy method for it at this point. Our remedy for clearing up the blue-green algae at this point is to actually put wetlands in so that we clean the incoming water as opposed to treat the dam itself. It's a more long-term solution where we would like to put our money rather than, say, shock treating the dam, and the dam would now be cyanobacteria free for 3 or 4 months, but then the cyanobacteria would anyway come back because you once again haven't addressed the root cause of the problem. So we are focusing on root cause of the problem. I do know about blue-green algae technology. I know they used it at Ruderplot Dam. It was effective for the period that and the reason that they used it for, but we are not in the position to put blue-green algae in the dam at this point. We would need to raise funds. We would need to do a risk assessment. We would need all the scientists to agree with that. And there is some concern on the scientists' side about copper content of blue-green algae and so on. So although, yeah, it is a nice short-term solution, we're not so sure if it's really the long-term solution that our dam is looking for. We would also need a general authorization to use that. So it would involve a long legal process to get the authorization to treat with blue-green algae technology. So at this point, we would rather look at long-term cleaning of the water. But anyone can be a friend or a partner to us as long as we all align to the same charter.
Senzo, I hope that answered your questions. There was someone else who was typing a question, and I think he or she got stage fright or connection issues. But if you can get back into the chat. Yes, Modupi is typing a question. So let's see while that is going on, let me ask, and I think, you know, from the cons that the list of cons is way more than the list of pros, but be that as it may, what are some of the wins, even if they are small wins? Because I believe even if it's a small win, it's a win nevertheless.
Yeah, that's yeah, the small wins. I think community building is the small wins. At this point, you know, I can't say we've actually stopped pollution, and it's very frustrating. It's highly frustrating because that should be the wins. But I think the small wins are all the networking that has taken place in between all of that, and the relationships that have developed, the potentials that have developed. Yeah, that's a win for us. I don't know, Paddy, you can also, Paddy's one of our directors, if he wants to maybe talk about some small wins that we've had. You know, just raising awareness is a win. Having more people join the Facebook group is a small win. Knowing that, you know, there's the message is being spread and there's some awareness happening. Even a tragedy can be a small win because it creates more awareness. So sometimes something bad that happens and everybody's involved, now we have a bigger network of people, and now we know more people, and we have potentially another solution for something else. Yeah,
that's good.
I think I can't think of like the small wins, but it's a good question. I'll ponder on that one. So they'll come to me.
The mere fact that you are in existence as an entity and that you are doing some work, for me, that's a small win. Well, that's a big win, as opposed to many of our communities that don't have organizations and nonprofits active in this area. So, Patrick, I'll get back to you just now. So Modupi is from Don't Waste Shared Services, a waste management company, and who would just like to be part of the forum from an environmental sustainability side. So was it a question, but like a comment or a statement? That's Modupi Maredi from Don't Waste Shared Services.
No, that's great. Please give us your contact details. We'll put you on the mailing list.
There you go. And then Chris Curtis, I think that's the University of Johannesburg. Hi, Cara. Many of the problems at Bronchies are generic to other sites like Harties, Rudaplat, etc. How can the Bronchies CMF work with other forums facing similar challenges?
Yeah, good questions. We because I'm also part of ARMA, we actually have a position in ARMA for catchment management forums. And that is my position currently because I run a catchment management forum and I'm members of others and so on. So we can assist other catchment management forums by showing them how it works, showing them what we do, giving practical example on how to run a meeting, set up meetings, what should the agenda look like, what should you record and not record, what should you focus on, where should you spend your time. So we can definitely, I personally can advise other catchment forums on how to run a catchment forum. Not that I'm saying ours is run perfectly or, we just are one way of doing it. There's many ways to do things and we just do it in this way. And it works for us at this point. But yeah, to advise, I mean, we would be happy to advise. We also would love it if we can have forums of forums. So a place where all the forums come together and can actually discuss the issues that we share and how we address those issues. So, we have a commonality, like Prof says, these issues are all generic. They're the same. So we are just going from plan A to B to C to E to we just strategizing constantly on how to solve a problem. And it would save other catchment forums a lot of time and energy if we did that together and we decided, okay, this is route 1. When route 1 doesn't work, you go to route 2, and then you have proof that you've been through all the routes that you need to go through, and then eventually you can go to court if you have to. But yeah, definitely we can advise them 100%. I hope that answers the question.
If it didn't, it was a very good attempt.
Forum of forums.
I'm not sure, Patrick, whether should we unmute you so you could ask a question verbally because you got your hand raised.
Yeah, Patrick's one of our directors.
Oh, okay. Camera?
I don't think it matters.
So Patrick?
Please unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, Patrick.
Okay. Hi, Kevin. Hi, Cara. Yeah, thanks, Cara. It's I thought I'd respond a little bit with regards, the small wins.
Yes.
It's you're so right. Being involved in and doing catchment management forum activities. It's so easy to list all the challenges and the small losses and the big losses, and you're never where you want to be. It's a tough game to be in. But you're right. One must constantly remind ourselves of the small wins, and obviously there are. As I agree with you, let's mention them. Of course, several years ago, just before the onset of COVID. Having criminal charges laid against the Delmas or Victor Khanya municipality, because of the pollution from their 2 sewage plants into the catchment area. That was obviously a major achievement. That was several years ago. It certainly hasn't resolved the pollution problem at this stage, but at least we're fighting it. And a new sewage plant is currently under development. It's taking longer than one would, hope for, but that's definitely a plus on our side. Small wins, in terms of the hyacinth control, which is also, a consequence of the eutrophication. With the hyacinth, in the last 6 months flooding the dam, the Bronkhorstspruit dam, unfortunately, because the hyacinth is now on people's front lawns, literally in their faces, on their own shorelines, only then has the community sort of kicked in. So it's a bless. The disaster is a blessing, as one said a bit earlier. But yeah, the community is definitely starting to rally enormously around the hyacinth problem, and a lot of private money has already been spent on it. So that's certainly a plus. And from our point of view, it's giving the BCMF a lot more exposure now. And I think as the next 12 to 24 months goes by, because fighting the hyacinth is a very long-term project, a very, very long-term fight, an expensive fight. I'm then hoping through the hyacinth battle that the other issues, in particular, we have to address root causes first, and then hopefully big business, the owners around, or the residents around the dam, then start realizing the bigger picture that we can then create awareness of, and then start assisting or funding the greater BCMF vision, and our intentions, and not only plowing money into the fight against hyacinth. So perhaps the disaster is going to help us get more exposure and fight the bigger battle in the catchment area. Thanks, Kevin.
Good. Well, Patrick, while you're there, and yes. Cara, look, in your presentation, you talked a lot about the environmental impacts, but I want to focus on the social or socio-economic impacts. And I mean, the dam as a resource obviously is being, or has been, or is being used for recreation, so or for tourism. So what has been the impact as a result of this poor water quality on those types of attributes, the social, the economic, tourism, recreational aspects?
Definitely there are impacts. If I can start, I've had a farmer contact me because the company wouldn't take his potatoes anymore, because the water quality in the river was too poor, and that now his potatoes were contaminated. So his only solution was to either move or to clean the water and use now treated water on his potatoes. So, I mean, there's just a direct example of an expense that they had to fork out in order to keep their business going. We've had spills in the Volga River where wedding venues were closed for 7 days and all weddings were cancelled because nobody wants to look at acid mine drainage and dead fish. We've had farmers downstream who have lost their irrigation abilities because of the quality of the water. The Bronkhorstspruit Nature Reserve has lost their guests. Nobody wants to come to the dam because there's hyacinths. They can't fish around hyacinths. It is very difficult to throw a fishing rod into a whole bunch of hyacinths. And that's the main aim of the Nature Reserve. It's a fishing and angling resort. Definitely, we've got Kaimanzi, a resort that also, whether if the water is green, the people don't want to be there, and they even ask for their money back. They say, no, the water's polluted, we want our money back. And when there's hyacinth, they can't ski. So there's massive economic losses. Definitely, there have been huge economic losses to the water quality problem.
I can also chip in there, if I may.
Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Look, two other ongoing from that is about 6-8 months ago, we had a visit with a couple of other prospective businessmen who wanted to, at the Shawnee Nature Reserve here at the dam, they wanted to launch an ecotourism business, with boats and bikes and, camping, which they wanted to host at the actual nature reserve. But because of the eutrophication, because of the hyacinth, the really poor quality water in the dam, we had the Shawnee tourism. I presume it's from the MEC, as part of that meeting, and we're there at the dam site, and that whole venture had to be moved elsewhere. And I don't know if they were successful in moving. So that was also a direct impact in terms of the local economy benefiting from such a ecotourism venture. And another one which we can't, we don't have the actual facts and impacts, but from recent water samples, taken at certain discharge points where high levels of E. coli were now tested, what that impact is going to be on the health of children and adults. We all know that young children are more susceptible to E. coli, and there are many deaths around the country because of such polluted water. So now, because we have plants discharging E. coli into the catchment area, obviously now that's a very concerning issue regarding what the impact is going to be downriver, from people that drink the water or swim in it.
Yeah, there's actually so many examples. Like we have rowing at the dam, and if the water quality is not great, then we can't have rowing competitions. Would they have swimming competitions? Same story. If they have to move it to Germiston or wherever else, if the water is not clean enough for the people to swim. Sure. As you were talking, Paddy, I was thinking of more economic impacts. Never mind the value of the houses. The house value depreciation that happens when the water quality is poor and there is hyacinth. People don't want to buy houses at the dam when that happens and your house value goes down. So it's massive. The spin-off of dirty water and the economic consequence of that felt by every individual around the dam and downstream. Yeah, we could probably even quantify it at some point.
So there's no doubt in my mind that your catchment management forum has their work cut out for them. And just hearing you talk about the wide range of impacts, environmental, social, economic, and mostly social economic, there is a reason that these affected stakeholders should be supporting your organization, because there's a vested interest here, and you should be getting more support than you're having now, because whatever wins, significant wins that you are making, those stakeholders are benefiting from it directly. See, there's Sonia waiting in the lobby. It's a bit late to we almost at the almost at the end of our or maybe she's having problems connecting. Yeah, just one last question, which is obviously we can both write a book about it and we'll still run out of pages. Government authorities, what are the challenges dealing with, I mean, are you able to understand what the challenges are, or is it something that we'll never know?
We're trying. We always try to get to the root cause of every problem. We are definitely trying to figure out what the root cause of this problem is. It could be lack of resources. I know for many years it really was a lack of resources. DWS didn't even have money for fuel. So they couldn't even come to meetings because there was no budget for transport for a few years. There was no water quality testing. They didn't have a lab. So how do you protect water if you don't test water? Only now they've again got a contract for national labs. So those were root causes at the time as well. But slowly some of those are changing. So the root cause is constantly changing. But we think maybe it's to do with the MPA, and actually when it comes to prosecuting a case, did we collect the evidence properly? Did we, the actual merits of the case and the proper detailed approach that you need to build a case? I'm not sure if that's what they are doing properly at this point. The police struggle with also how to deal with a water pollution case. For many years at the Bronkhorstspruit police station, they don't even have section 151 of the National Water Act on their list of offences when they log a case. So if you cannot log that case against that section, there is nothing to log. So that was a problem for many years as well. I'm not even sure if that's been sorted out everywhere. I know they did try and train the police officers, and they are trying. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the root cause is, hoping to find out and fix it.
Well, that's a very long list. If we had to draw up a list of challenges, but be that as it may, you are, as an individual and an organization, making a significant impact. Where there's nobody else doing the similar job, you are definitely making a significant impact. And I repeat this, that is the win. The win that you've rocked up to the party and you did the dance, whilst others are just standing idly by. So for me, that's the win. And I think how we can improve on this is networking, sharing knowledge, getting others involved to share their knowledge, and that's one way we could grow the initiative. So I don't know if there's any closing comments that you want to make, because our guests are all tired. They ran out of questions to ask. Yeah, if you have any closing parting shots.
Nothing too challenging. It's Friday. And I hope I didn't put anyone off there.
Well,
no, from our side, Cuban, I actually agree. Networking in this entire region. Just constantly working hard at. It's actually also surprising how many people in the greater community or the catchment area aren't even aware of many of these problems. So you're absolutely right. Networking nonstop is definitely one of the keys.
Well, hopefully, this chat webinar has made a very small difference, because the main aim here was to celebrate change makers like yourselves, and also to stimulate networking, collaboration, and working together. So hopefully this, in some small way, adds to that agenda.
Thank you.
So thank you very much. Is it Peter or Patrick? Patrick. Yes.
Whatever
Peter,
you wish.
Peter. PW. Patrick Waller and Cara Stokes. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. Thanks to all our attendees. That's Chris Curtis, Desiree, Dupriya, Linda Stokes, Martin, Modupi, Muwanwa, Noloyiso, Mbiza, Rosalie, and Senzo, and Sonia, who eventually managed to get back in. So thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And yes, we'll keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Friday.
Bye.